Blog Talk Radio. Blog Talk Radio.
Today's franchise interview shout-out goes to the Source Direct. Source Direct is an inventor's one-stop shop. Source Direct eliminates the disconnect in dealing with different companies from each phase of development and marketing. Instead, Source Direct can manage every stage of the process from the drawing board to the customer. Go to thesourcedirect.net and find out how you can get started. That's www.thesourcedirect.net.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 10 years now, we've been asking the frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Rick Del Sontro, CEO of Zippy Shell, a moving and storage franchise that is disrupting both industries. Zippy Shell is the fastest growing provider of secure, convenient, and affordable mobile self-storage and moving solutions that are delivered right to your door. We're going to talk to Rick about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032. 888-385-3032.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 10 years now, we've been asking the frantrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Rick Del Sontro, the CEO of Zippy Shell, a moving and storage franchise that's disrupting both industries. Hi, Rick. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, I'm doing great. It's good to hear your voice and glad to be a part of the show.
Oh, that's fantastic, Rick. We always like to ask our guests, where are you calling from this morning?
We're in the nation's capital, Washington, D.C., where our corporate headquarters is.
That's fantastic. You know, I'm sure our listeners are probably saying to themselves, what is Zippy Shell, Rick? How do you typically describe the concept?
Yeah, I think it's pretty simple. We're a nationwide franchisor of storage and moving services. And, quite simply, we do it in a mobile or portable fashion, which is really taking advantage of what I see as two really archaic industry models, and we're sort of turning them upside down and on their head with really disruptive models that we've come up with to service those two specific industries.
That's great. Who came up with the concept, Rick? I mean, maybe you could talk a little bit about the history of Zippy Shell.
Yeah, I'd love to. It was funny listening to your show from Easton, Pennsylvania, Sydney, Australia. Well, Zippy Shell comes from Sydney, Australia.
Oh, wow.
My business partner, original business partner in the business, Gareth Taylor, he and his original business partner, a guy named Adam Gilchrist, came up with the idea back in Australia in 2000 and really about 7 they launched it, I'd say, and ran it in Sydney and then in Melbourne for a short period of time. Until about 2009, and that's sort of when the idea was introduced to me and another business partner and friend of mine, a guy by the name of Javier Paraga. And we looked at that concept and looked at bringing it here to the United States. And to be perfectly candid, when I first heard about it, I was I really wasn't excited. I thought to myself, storage, really? Could anything be more boring than that? And,
right.
And it just really wasn't, it didn't seem sexy. And then it was mobile or portable storage, which I didn't know a lot about, but I knew, frankly, it existed. So it wasn't even kind of revolutionary from my perspective. And it took, it took a lot of prodding to really get me to start digging into it. I would say that what really changed things for me was just doing homework on the industry. And I always tell people the way I look at business opportunities is I go industry first. And if I like the industry and I think there's an opportunity within the industry, then I move to the next step. And so for me, it was just an eye-opening thing. I had no idea how big the storage industry was in the U.S. I mean, literally there's enough storage space for every man, woman, and child to stand inside storage simultaneously, right? So, at the time, this was back in 2009, there were 49,000 storage facilities in the United States. And it was a highly fragmented, remains a highly fragmented market. The top 50 storage providers only have about 16% market share. So, 84% of the market is owned by individual entrepreneurs or mom and pops, however you want to classify them. And that to me just really smelled of opportunity. And so, it was a group of guys that got together. We looked at the concept. We loved what Gareth and Adam had built. We knew the opportunity in the United States would be enormous. And we also knew to build this thing on a national basis, if we had to, go out and raise our own money to do it, would be $150 to $200 million project.
Sure.
And this was, again, it was 2009. If you remember back to then, the economy was really in the tank. I'm not sure what a precipice is, but every day I turned on CNBC, they told me we were on the precipice, so it sounded bad. And just the idea of raising that kind of money in that environment didn't work. So we all had franchising experience. That was a one common factor among the founding partners. And we knew that that would be a way to take this business to really launch it, to scale it, and build it, because the key to the overall business, frankly, is a national footprint. And the reason a national footprint is so important is because you have to have the ability to move the containers around the country because of the consumer shift today. Consumers are looking for a solution where they can store and move or move and store. And so we ultimately launched the business in spring of 2010. It took us a while to come to the decision to do it, and one of the big mainstays of our decision was our ability to convince one of the founders, Gareth Taylor, to relocate from Australia with his family, come to the States and be part of the management team that helped, launch and grow the business. And once that was solidified, we launched the business in spring of 2010, really.
That's great. It's a great story, and it is a very clever service, Rick. I thought the same thing. When I first started researching it, and you kind of have pre-notions, and then once I started digging into Zippy Shell, I was like, wow, this is a really cool concept. It was one of those things you say, okay, well, why didn't I think of that? It really is very clever. Maybe you could talk a little bit about the services that Zippy Shell provides to its customers and what markets it serves.
Sure. So we're in today about 135 different markets across the United States. Ultimately, we think we'll get in the 300 plus markets. But we provide, really some basic services. We provide storage, we provide local moving, and we provide long distance moving. And operationally, what we do is pretty simple. We deliver to a consumer, to their home or their business, a storage container, and that storage container sits inside of what we call our Zippy Shell, which is our delivery vehicle. And customers will either load their goods into that, or we'll provide them support loading their goods into it. We bring it back to our facility, and we do one of two things with it. We either keep it there because they're storing, or we put it on the back of a freight truck that delivers it to some other part of the United States where another Zippy Shell provider will take it off the freight truck, put it into their facility until that customer is ready to move into their new destination location. So that, what we do is we just make the process of storage and moving just a lot more simplified. Look, I put it this way. Nobody's ever going to get excited and go home and tell their wife or girlfriend that we're doing fun tonight. Storage, have fun. It's not very fun. And if you look at moving is amazingly stressful. Now, the end result of where you're moving to is really exciting. Hey, I got a new job, or we bought a new home. But the process of getting there is just really, really challenging. And so we just take that process and we make it a lot simpler, and we offer a lot more options to the consumer through the services that we provide than what exists in today's market.
That's fantastic. And it seems like there's additional, I guess you could say, secondary markets too, Rick. As I was researching the model, I said, not only, do you service the consumers, but I imagine that, businesses would also be clients to Zippy Shell, would you say?
Well, without a doubt, there's so if you look at the storage market first, about 18% of the overall storage market is what we call, commercial. So it's business to business, if you will. And we have just launched a separate container strategy. It's more of a, all-weather container. We call it an on-site container that will address that part of the market. And our original container model really is meant to address the market where somebody doesn't want to store at their location. They want to store in one of our secure climate control facilities. And so you're absolutely right. And then the other business that we serve is really in the world of relocation today. We're making a significant footprint working with corporations that are moving their employees, future employees around the country. And our model works extremely well in that world because we can provide, again, a number of different solutions based upon level of service that really control the different price points. And so if you wanted to do something really on your own, sort of a do-it-yourself opportunity, it would be at a really low price point. And if you wanted to increase services where you had, people help you with loading support or packing and loading of your goods, we can do that, but we just happen to do it at a significant discount to what the traditional, interstate van line model can do it for.
That's terrific. How is technology, or does technology play a role in the business today, Rick?
Oh, my goodness, yes, without a doubt. And if you think about where things are evolving, this is where the industry is going. And so Zippy Shell had a decision to make, and the decision was, would we lead on technology, would we participate on technology, or would we regret that we hadn't done either? And so we've taken a real leadership role, and so it's kind of, we're moving in a mobile-first, platform now, because as I explained it, if you think about storage, I have two children, 10 and 13 years of age, and I always joke that their children will come to me someday and say, hey, Grandpa, tell us how you guys used to do storage. We think that's really funny, And I'll have to say, okay, well, we would rent a truck or borrow a truck, and we drive to our house, and we load everything in it, and then we drive off to the facility, and we take it off the truck, and we put it on a dolly and go up 3 levels and down the hallway. And what they're going to know is the evolution of where many things are going today, and I'm sure you're well aware of, is sort of this on-demand home services model. And so what's going to be the future of storage will be somebody will pick up their device and they will say, I need a storage unit brought to my home next Thursday between 2 and 4, and I need loading help. And that's the way storage will be done in the future. The idea that, you have these so highly inconvenient models, I think you will see an evolution away from that, because there's never been, at least in my mind, at any point in American consumerism where a product or service has been introduced to the consumer market that's been affordable across the masses that hasn't worked, right? And so that's why I think there's such a real opportunity here for people to be able to make these processes so much more convenient than they have historically been.
How does Zippy Shell typically differentiate themselves from other franchises in the moving and storage industry, Rick? Because I'm sure you come across that from time to time.
Yeah, it's not that frequent. If you look at sort of some of the larger competitors, they're not franchised. They historically may have been. They've now come back and bought back those franchise locations. So, look, I think what we rely on, again, if you look at it, if you take the business of mobile or portable storage, and that's what you see most of out there, if there are competitors, there are people that are playing in that space. What they lack is a national footprint, and the business is extremely challenging if you don't have a national footprint. What we found out as we were growing, and it took us 5 years to get to a national footprint, but what we found is that 40% of all the leads that we got, we had to throw in the trash can, because they were either looking to move and store and move. And so if I was in Washington, D.C. and had a location, but somebody was moving to Phoenix and I didn't, it just wouldn't work. And so for us, that is a big advantage. The other thing is that most of the models that you see out there are what I would call large on-site container concepts, where they're bringing in a large sort of industrial-looking box and they're dropping it in your home, your driveway, your street, in front of your house. And our model is just built much more nimbly, right? We're delivering to you a street licensed or street registered trailer with a container inside of it. Now, why did we do that, and why did Gareth do that as a founder? Well, the truth was, at the time he started this, you could not just drop a container in the streets of downtown Sydney, and you needed to get what was really akin to a building permit. And that cost, 2 weeks of your time. So the convenience factor went out the window. And if you didn't get the building permit, or what they called the parking permit, it was a $500 fine. So the pricing sort of went out the window then. So he decided whatever he was going to deliver, it had to be delivered in a way that it was legal. And so that's what we see today. We have a street legal trailer that we're accepted in places where you can't drop large containers. think about it, condo associations, apartment complex management companies, local municipalities are putting in regulations. Homeowner associations are putting in restrictions. So it's kind of weird to say, but we're more mobile in a mobile world. And it just gives us a big leg up.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. I used to live in the city, Rick, and it used to be very difficult to parallel park. I remember, and your guys are experts at all of that stuff, aren't they?
They are, and we really thrive in the city environment because if you think of it, where are the storage facilities? They're certainly not on the main drags, right?
Right.
And so you're going to have to. What are you going to do? And if you look at our consumer demographics, we have a high, density of females. And so the idea of a female wanting to grab a U-Haul truck and renting it and going ride it and loading it up and then driving it through the streets of the city just to get over to a traditional storage facility, this is just so much easier. And the challenge was when the early players in the mobile or portable storage world came out, the cost of their capital equipment was really, really expensive. And so what that meant was that they had to price their service to the consumer market as a premium service. And so you as a consumer then had said, well, I've got the opportunity for this to be a lot more convenient, but it's going to cost me $50 to $100 more a month than going to that traditional storage facility down the street. So a lot of people said, you know what, that's just too much for me. I'm going to pass and I'm going to go through the inconvenience of it. But what Zippy Shell does with their model is the cost of our capital equipment is significantly less than our competitors. And so it allows us to price at a point that is much more in line with what a traditional storage facility would charge. So now all of a sudden we're bridging that gap. We're taking the convenience of portable storage that nobody can dispute, but we're doing it at a price point that's much more in line with traditional storage. So now the decision for the consumer is just a heck of a lot easier.
The majority of our listeners, Rick, we call them aspiring frantrepreneurs. Most of our listeners, they know they want to get into franchising. They want to buy a franchise. They're in the market to buy a franchise. What types of characteristics, then, do you look for in your franchisees?
Yeah, so our model's probably a lot different. Look, first of all, I'm a big proponent of franchising as a business strategy. I think that if you're going into business and your franchisor can provide you with brand operating systems and ongoing support and really lay out a blueprint for success, then you have a much better chance of being successful. Again, what ultimately drives it at the end of the day is, are you as an owner well capitalized for the business? And are you willing to walk through walls? Because I haven't found a business today, and I've started a number of them, where it's just not playing hard, right? Businesses are not easy. And whether you franchise or you don't franchise, what franchising does for you, it gives you that track, and it allows you not to make the most common mistakes that are made by first-time entrepreneurs. And believe me, as a first-time entrepreneur, 14, 15 years ago, I probably made every mistake there was, right? So I speak from experience. Now, what we look for people who are well capitalized, that have patience, right? Because I refer to Zippy Shell jokingly as a get-rich-slow scheme, and it just takes a while to build this business to the point where, gosh, it's great. And when you get there, though, it's certainly well worth it. I mean, it is a really good model. But we also look for people that can be excited or passionate about what they're doing. And also, I think ideally, this is a great business for a second-time entrepreneur. So somebody who understands what it takes to build a business, not maybe that executive that's looking to, come out of the business world and try it on your first go-around. Because I think that what we try to do, and it's really, really difficult for any franchisor, but what we try to do is model what the business and operational model for Zippy Shell looks like with the needs and desires of that entrepreneur. And so if you're somebody who says, hey, I'm just leaving a job and I make $150,000 or $200,000 a year and I need to replace that income in the first 12 to 18 months, I'm going to tell you straight up, Zippy Shell's not the right solution for you. There isn't. There's probably other ones out there. and you should go find them, because in this model, what you're looking for is you are building long-term value into a business that is worth something when you want to go to sell it.
That's a great response, Rick. In doing the show such a long time now, it's over 10 years, I haven't really heard that. As I like how you emphasized, the importance of patience, or, a get rich slow, type of mentality, because that's important, because I think a lot of people, they want to get into franchising thinking that they're going to make a lot of money right away. And that doesn't always happen, does it?
Well, I haven't seen it. Look, I've started 3 businesses in my lifetime, and none of them have skyrocketed from day one. Right. So I'm sure they're out there, but they're the anomalies, they're the unicorns. Most businesses just take time and a lot of effort. And so what I always try to tell people is, look, our role at Zippy Shell is to just present the opportunity, present the facts, present the people. Right. And they've got to really want to do it. And the reason they do, people have said to me all the time, Rick, did you always know Zippy Shell was going to be successful? And the honest answer is, I always believed it should be. But no, there were a lot of mornings when I was sitting at the gym. That's how I start my day. I get up, I hit the gym, around 5:30. And I would stare off into space going, what the heck did you do? But I always came back to, okay, come back to it. Why did you get into this business? What are these industries like? Do you have advantages, or at least share the level playing field? And I always came back to, okay, it's 2 things. It's just time and money. So if I had the adequate capital to push the business forward and I was patient, you'd be successful. So I always try to tell people the right activities lead to the right results. I can't always guarantee the timing, but if you're doing the right things, you will get there. Right. And so that's really important to focus on. So what you don't need is somebody coming into any franchise system or any business where the first time something doesn't go right, they're ready to throw in the towel, because you've got to really take it back to, okay, why did I do this in the first place?
That's fantastic. I think that's great advice for our listeners. What, as a CEO, I can ask you, Rick, where do you see the organization, Zippy Shell, in maybe 3 to 5 years down the road?
Well, it's very apparent to me that the business today is growing exponentially, and so what I believe we'll see in 5 years is Zippy Shell in probably 300 markets, where people will understand who we are and what we are, and we will become a dominant player, a significant player in both the storage and moving space. And it's really interesting, because the adoption rate to portable, or what we call containerized moving, has actually happened faster than containerized storage. And the reason is that people looked at the storage, as I said earlier, as a premium service before Zippy Shell sort of got into it. But the containerized moving was never seen as a premium service. It was always seen as a more value solution, because you now have the options, right? You didn't hire these, people to professionally pack and load your stuff. If you wanted to do it in a more cost-effective way, you could just have a container delivered to you. You could pack your own things, load your own things, ship them, and have them re-delivered to you. And so the sort of the adoption rate has been so much faster on the moving side, and we're seeing that today, and we're seeing, how much opportunity exists on the moving side of the business. And what I've always loved about the moving side of the business is it leads to storage customers. It really feeds that long-term value. What I always try to tell people is, look, the pot at the end of the rainbow that's filled with gold is ultimately your storage customers, right? Because that's where the value is. You've got a facility, and at some point you own that facility, and there's 500 or 1,000 people sitting there paying you every month, and you're hitting those credit cards, and it's passive income. And that's a really valuable business. Somebody is going to want to own a piece of commercial real estate with income to it. And so it creates this valuable asset if you ever want to sell it. But what if you didn't? It's certainly a great income stream. But it does take time to get there. It's storage is an extremely inertial business. It doesn't, it happens over time, and it does take 4, 5, 6, 7 years to build it out. Not that you can't make money along the way. I don't mean to be saying that, but it just takes time to really build this business up to a mature level.
And Zippy Shell has done a great job, in terms of branding as well, Rick. I was familiar with your organization. I know that, you've been in, was it Entrepreneur's Top 500? I've seen you in Franchise Times Magazine, so you've gotten a number of accolades throughout the years as well, which is congratulations on that, by the way, because I think those are great accolades. So, that's fantastic. So I think you've done a great job in branding the franchise as well. How do our listeners get more information on Zippy Shell as, of course, the service and, of course, most the franchise opportunity, Rick? Is there any websites that they can go to?
Sure. Of course. You can just go to zippyshell.com and click on franchise opportunities.
Okay.
Just give us a few basic points of information, and you'll be able to download sort of an introductory brochure on the opportunity. And then Danielle Scott, who is head of franchise sales for us, will respond right away and just have an initial conversation to sort of gauge suitability.
That's terrific. And I want to thank you for coming on the show, Rick. I think Zippy Shell has a fantastic franchise model. Again, I've been doing this a long time, and when I started researching the model, I said, wow, this is terrific. I get it, So it was great to have you on the show, and I'd already like to invite you back, next year as you continue to grow, because I think this is terrific.
Well, I appreciate it, Marty. Thanks for, having the show in general. I think it's so important for you to be able to share with people that are looking for business opportunities and specifically franchise opportunities, what some of them are and what they should be looking at and what they shouldn't look for and those types of things. So we appreciate the work that you do.
Oh, thank you so much for saying that. That means a lot to me, Rick. And it was great to have you on the show, and we'll be right back with more franchise interviews. Coming up on segment 2, you're going to hear what every frantrepreneur needs to know before buying a franchise. We're going to play a clip from our popular Great Quotes in Franchising podcast right here on Franchise Interviews.
Franchisers, are you looking to reach aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? Are you looking to reach a highly educated audience on franchising? For over 8 years, Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship through our website, franchiseinterviews.com, where you can hear and read interviews as well as get tips from some of the most successful sources in franchising. Our weekly franchise radio show where each week you get to hear a new interview with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts and attorneys, and our podcast, Great Quotes in Franchising. For more information, go to franchiseinterviews.com or call us at 610-905-2919. That's 610-905-2919.
Are you one of those special people who are willing to go after your dreams and goals? Are you ready to fulfill that dream of owning your own business with the security of a proven brand? The opportunity to take control of your future and own a Rita's Italian Ice franchise is within your reach.
Rita's is seeking success-oriented individuals who are ready to make a change in their life, and Rita's offers unparalleled training and support to assure your success. And did you know the frozen treat industry is a recession-proof industry, and there are Rita's in 23 states currently with 540 stores open. Rita's Italian Ice has been around for 25 years and is listed as a top-performing franchise by the Wall Street Journal.
Now here's the really good part. Rita's Italian Ice is a unique and amazing taste treat. It's smoother than a snow cone, and it combines ice with real fresh fruit. The real fruit adds dramatically to the taste, and it comes in over 40 flavors. The ice and fruit are mixed on site and made fresh daily, and it is delicious.
You'll want to know more about this exciting and successful franchise opportunity. Go to www.ownaritas.com and get all your questions answered. That's www.ownaritas.com to take control of your dreams and future today. You don't want to wait any longer to be a part of this adventure. www.ownaritas.com.
Franchise Interviews, From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone. This is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, where each podcast you get to hear a great quote in franchising. And today's podcast is being brought to you by Diamond Financial Services. And if you're looking for a loan to finance your franchise, simply click the Diamond Financial Services logo below. Today's podcast, you're going to get to hear from a legend in entrepreneurship and franchising, and that's Michael Gerber. And we've had Michael on the show 2 times up to this point, and the first time we had him on the show, Don and I were amazed at the amount of emails we received and listeners, and it was really overwhelming and incredibly fun at the same time. One of the questions that we commonly ask on every show is, what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs looking to buy a franchise? And naturally, Michael's response was brilliant. So here we go. Franchising and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, well, I think before that, Mike, I think a lot of people listening might be a little surprised that your mom still tells you what to do.
No, that's the problem. My mom has never told me what to do. She inspires me to do things that I never thought about doing.
Absolutely. That's great. That's tremendous. Yeah. What advice would you give to a prospective franchisee looking to buy a franchise, Michael?
Well, first of all, understand what you want. It has less to do with the franchise than it does with you. What is it truly important to you to do? This whole new emergence of the dreaming room, for example, really revolves around the idea that struck me that this is the age of the new entrepreneur. And the new entrepreneur is very, very much different than the one who preceded him. The new entrepreneur is more interested in a business that has meaning, not just money. So the whole question for the new entrepreneur or the one who wants to buy a franchise is really, so what's the meaning of this? What's the impact of this on the world? When we begin to look at the world and really realize that the world is in dreadful shape, you wonder then how I, in a business of my own, could have some kind of impact that would add value to the world. So I'd begin to look at franchises from that perspective. What's the value of the franchise? Presuming that I'm going to be successful, what is the value? What do I deliver that has value to my customer? What pride do I get from what it is I'm doing? What am I adding of benefit to the world as opposed to subtracting from the world, presuming, again, I'm going to be successful? So the first thing is, what does this company mean? What is the true meaning of this, and what's the impact and import of it? For me in my life, I'm going to die one day, and I'm going to probably die inside my business. And what I'd like to ask myself is, will I be proud of the fact that I devoted the rest of my life to doing this?
Right.
Would I want to say this to people I love? Would I want to say this to my kids? What am I going to say to them when I describe what I've chosen to do with the years of my life that I'm going to do it in? Because, in fact, you're going to spend the rest of your life in this business or in something very much like it. The second thing I would ask, once I've decided that, yes, this is a worthy thing to do for me, a human being, how organized is this thing that I'm going to do? How organized is it? Does it have a truly kick-ass breakthrough system for doing what it needs to do, which is attract people to it as customers, which is convert those people into active customers and paying customers, and ability to convert those customers into clients, meaning they come back again and again and again and again. So I want to build or buy that capability, or I'm going to then need to build it for myself.
Wow, it's a great. We've been asking that question now since we started the show, Michael. We never got such a great response.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, so really, don't jump into anything quickly. Do your due diligence, and that's a good point. I mean, this might be something you've been doing for a long time. Are you going to be proud of telling people this is what you do?
Proud, yeah.
I mean, Marty, you and I have talked about people just can't jump into something that sounds great. They got to
they have to go more deeply into their own motivation.
Right.
And that's the thing that's missing almost all the time. Essentially, the prospective franchisee, the guy, the woman who decides they want to buy a business opportunity, essentially they go out there, and the one who pitches the deal the best gets the deal. And I'm essentially saying it's got to turn around the other way. The one who's going out becomes more thoughtful about what I'm looking for, as opposed to simply going out and looking for a good business to run.
Right, absolutely.
So that right there might be a strong characteristic of a successful somebody who.
Those are very deep words from Michael. Is talking about the whole, what is this franchise going to mean? How do I want to be remembered? So, again, it's going very deep into that question, but again, it's one of the best responses I think we've had up to this point. And again, it is Michael Gerber. He's sold millions of copies. His latest book is Awakening the Entrepreneur Within, and we had Michael on the show several months ago, and we spoke about the book. And again, he's going to be in Great Quotes in Franchising on several locations. It was hard to decide which one we were going to use first, but this was it. So again, you're going to see Michael again in a couple other editions of Great Quotes in Franchising. That day that we did the show, following us, actually became a friend to the show, Ken Six, who hosts a show called Arbor Talk with Peter Felix. And Ken was also a big fan of Michael Gerber. Here was Ken's reaction following the show. And again, we'll leave you with that. And we'd love to hear your feedback on this edition of Great Quotes in Franchising. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Here we go.
The inventor of the resistograph.
And this is, need I say more, Joe? We've got a jam-packed show. Joe, you got to get Marty back on the line. I think that was Michael Gerber on his show.
That was Michael Gerber.
I tell him to call in. That guy he wrote the E-Myth. And
he did.
We need Marty to come in for about a minute.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. Let me work on that.
If you're listening, Marty, call us up.
All right, we'll do. All right.
We'll be right back.
Always read the fine print, they say. Well, I don't know who they are, but they sure don't work for Jack Lair Heating, Cooling, and Electric, because our no fine print guarantee means just what it says. There's no fine print to read on our contracts. Guaranteed. For emergency service, system maintenance, or to schedule an estimate for a new HVAC system, visit jacklair.com. That's jacklehr.com, an independent Trane dealer serving the Lehigh Valley area for 50 years. Disclaimer: there is no disclaimer because there's no fine print. Have a great day.